I am Neil Starling. And if you weren't sure before, now you are.
Hello everybody, how's it going? I am your host, Neil Starling, here with the NXT Takeover Respect WWE Network special. Woo, that was a mouthful. Anyway, I'm glad to be here, guys. I actually just finished watching it right now. It is currently 3:32 in the morning, a.m. That's right, because I just came home from work really late, and thanks to the WWE Network, I was able to not only watch the show, but also be able to provide you guys with a recap of what I thought, and might I say it was quite an awesome show. I really enjoyed it. It was very entertaining from top to bottom. The matches were spectacular. Even matches that I personally didn't think were going to be all that good or were just going to be filler, they turned out to be pretty damn good. I'd have to say, I'm very surprised. So, without any further ado, let me get on with the show. So basically, our first match of the night was Finn Balor and Samoa Joe versus Scott Dawson and Dash Wilder. Now, this match surprised me. This was to see who was going to be in the finals for the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic, right? So I'm thinking to myself, Dash and Wilder, Scott Dawson and Dash Wilder, they're sort of like the filler characters for this matchup, right? They're supposed to be the guys to stare at the lights for Balor and Joe. Now that did happen. Balor and Joe did win this match, but I have to give credit to these two wrestlers because the reality is that they gave a really good show. I thought that they were going to get beaten quickly, and that was going to be it, but that's not how it went down at all. The way it actually went down was they gave them a fight. Not only that, but Finn Balor got injured during the match, ended up tweaking his knee, and as a result, he ended up being weakened for the match later on, which I will get to. There was what seemed to be a little dissension among Joe and Balor throughout this match, given the fact that towards the end of the match, when Balor pretty much did his coup de grace, he was holding his leg, and he was like, "Damn, I'm hurt," and Joe was kind of like, "What are you doing? Are you going to be able to wrestle? Blah, blah, blah." At least that's what I think he was telling him. Not really sure with the crowd. The crowd was so lively. They were just all into the show. You couldn't get them away from the show at all, which I thought was fantastic. And it ended up being really good. So this win, again, goes to Finn Balor and Samoa Joe. So after that, our second match was also for the Dusty Rhodes Classic Tag Team matchup, which was Jason Jordan and Chad Gable versus Rhino and Baron Corbin. Now, this, in my personal opinion, was one of my favorite matches of the night. I thought it was fantastic. Normally, Jason Jordan, he's been in NXT for a long time, and he hasn't really shown us as much as he possibly can show us. But tonight, you could tell he was just in the spirit. Like, he was down, man. I mean, there was a point during the match where he sort of like invoked the spirit of Kurt Angle, you can say, because when Chad gave him that tag and he got in there, he was just like wrecking these two dudes, and he ended up like taking the straps down. He was just screaming. He was just like really pumped up, like he was gonna do this. And these guys had an incredible match. It was also, like I said, it was one of my favorite matches of the night. Of course, realistically, we knew who was going to win. We knew that those dudes were just placeholders for Rhino and Baron Corbin, which ended up being the case. After a valiant effort, they ended up not winning the match. Chad Gable, I had to give this dude props because there was a point during the match where he picked up Baron Corbin off the floor and just like suplexed him. But that was like pure power. There was no like, "Oh, let me jump and help you with this move." No, he picked him up like off of the floor and just like slammed him. And I thought that was pretty fantastic. It was a great display of power by Chad Gable. He's truly a gem, man. I think that dude is highly underrated. He needs to get a little more than what he's getting right now. But overall, very entertaining match, like I said. Rhino and Corbin ended up getting the victory when Corbin hit Chad Gable at the end of days, giving him the 1-2-3 and giving them the victory. So they moved on to the finals, right? So now that match is out of the way, our third match was Dana Brooke and the debut of Asuka. That's right, Asuka. She just got signed with NXT, and I had to say I was pretty impressed with her. She did a really good job, and I was actually impressed with Dana Brooke as well because I'm not normally a Dana Brooke guy, but I have to say she looks pretty good in this match. It seems that she's been training. She's gotten a little better at what she's doing, and she was able to give her a really good match. There was a lot of back and forth action. You had Emma ringside, of course, because her purpose there was, of course, to help her cheat. Despite everything, despite all the odds, Asuka was able to gain the victory over Dana Brooke. With that match being said and done, it's really funny. I kind of want to touch up on this real quick. So, even though Dana was the heel of this match, I have to say that Asuka was doing heelish moves because there was a point where she even was imitating Dana Brooke's taunts, and that's something that's usually reserved for the heel. The babyface doesn't normally do something like that, but she did do it, which I thought was pretty cool. I just thought I'd add that in there for good measure. Regardless, it was a pretty good opening for the women of tonight. So with that match said and done, the next match was Tyler Breeze versus Apollo Crews. This match was awesome. Breeze doesn't get enough credit, I personally think. He's been in NXT for a long time, which Byron, Saxton, Corey were kind of emphasizing throughout the entire match. He's been there here from the beginning, and he doesn't necessarily get the respect that he deserves. He's seen a lot of guys come and go, and this guy's just a flavor of the month, which seems to be a theme. He fights the flavor of the month, and these guys end up being the ones that end up being in the main roster. I gotta say, through the majority of the match, Breeze was whooping Apollo Crews' butt. He was seriously handing him his own grapefruits, and he was squashing them. Now, throughout the course of this match, they both did really good. These guys, just tremendous athletes, super athletes here. However, Apollo Crews did gain the victory after hitting Breeze with a powerbomb. So this victory, of course, goes to Crews. I'm really excited to see what they're going to do with Crews in the future. He really seems like, they're grooming him to go to the main roster pretty quickly, which I would love to see because, we need to see more guys like that because he has the size, power, and he also has the speed and agility, which is very rare. You don't see that very often. So with that match said and done, we had the finals to decide who was going to win the Dusty Rhodes Classic Tag Team. And it ended up being Finn Balor and Samoa Joe versus Rhino and Baron Corbin. Now, of course, this match had me a little confused. There was a point where I genuinely believed Joe was going to turn on Finn because they kind of planted the seeds for that early on when there was a little dissension during their match after Balor tagged himself in. So when Joe delivered the Muscle Buster, he did the coup de grace, giving him the victory, but he was injured. So they were kind of teasing throughout the rest of the show that, hey, maybe you're just not fit to compete in this match tonight. So when these guys squared off, it was pretty cool, and I thought it was interesting that they started off with Finn Balor instead of having him, just kind of be on the sidelines, and when Joe needed him, he tagged him in. But it didn't end up being that way at all. The way it ended up being was he started the match, and I think that was, psychological purposes to kind of let him know that, hey, I'm okay. Even though I have a tweaked knee, I can still fight. And that's what ended up happening. These guys had an amazing showing. You could tell that both teams were exhausted because they did previously compete during the same night. And even though they were exhausted, they still managed to pull off some amazing moves. It was just like high action the whole time. I really enjoyed it. The winners of this match were, of course, Finn Balor and Samoa Joe, which I thought was interesting because they won the exact same way that they beat the previous team. And at that moment, I thought Joe was going to turn on him, but he didn't. And I'm going to tell you why right now. Because after they won the match, the Rhodes family actually came out to congratulate them with the trophy. And I thought it was a really feel-good moment because Cody Rhodes came out as his regular self. He didn't come out as Stardust. And Dustin came out as himself instead of Goldust, which I thought was really nice. And the whole crowd was just chanting, Cody, Cody, which I thought was great. Cody Rhodes gave a very short but to the point, heartfelt speech about his father and how he was like the oak of NXT and how all these NXT alumni sort of just gravitated towards him. And he was their mentor. He's the one that taught them so much. And, he pretty much was letting everybody know, hey, look, this is who he was, and tonight you're all Rhodes. Then they ended up playing Dusty Rhodes' music. A very good moment, very feel-good moment. I understood now why there was no heel turn during that match, because they wanted us to have that feel-good moment at the end out of respect for Dusty, which I thought was amazing, and I'm really glad that they did that. So moving on from that, we move on to our main event, which was Sasha Banks versus Bayley for the NXT Women's Championship in a 30-minute Iron Man match. First time that's ever happened, and it's also the first time the women have had the main event in any WWE Network special. So I personally think it should have been called a Iron Woman, but whatever, it is what it is, right? This is the Divas Revolution, and you would think that they try to push the name woman as much as possible, but that's not what ended up happening. Either way, it was a really good match, very hard fought by these two women. I like how before the match started, they were kind of showing clips of both ladies training in the gym, getting their cardio up, getting ready for this matchup, and I thought that was really cool because it showed them training in different methods. So when they actually began their match, there was a lot of storytelling in this match. You can tell. Bailey's number one fan, Izzy, the little girl that's always like by ringside, the camera was all over her during this match because Sasha was such a good heel. She was just like beating up Bailey in front of them. There was one point, there was a spot where she actually grabbed Bailey and like slammed her on the steps that were right next to the little girl along with the family. And Sasha Banks ends up grabbing Bailey's headband and throws it at them. And Izzy started crying, which I thought was, I was like, damn, these people are really evil because you knew they meant to do that and they knew that this was going to be the reaction out of this little girl. But that's the WWE for you. You got to love it. Again, like I said, it was a part of telling the story. They were pretty much trying to tell this story about how Bailey only was able to win out of a fluke and that she wouldn't be able to do this again, which is why they had the Iron Man match. It wasn't a full hour, of course, like a traditional Iron Man match, but it was a half an hour, which was really good. Bailey, of course, ends up taking the victory after getting 3 pinfalls on Sasha Banks. Actually, it was 2 pinfalls and 1 submission. She made her tap out in the last 3 seconds, which I thought was awesome. Very heartfelt. It was celebrated very well afterwards. You see everybody cheering. The whole NXT roster, along with Stephanie McMahon and Triple H, they were in the back with roses for both ladies. Sasha Banks comes out. They give her the rose, congratulating her, telling her, hey, you did a good job. Then Triple H goes in the ring and he gives Bailey her roses. And, he embraces Bailey, holds her hand up in victory. Had a really feel-good moment for NXT Takeover respect. I kind of like the theme they did here. It was really all about respect. It was about these people that paid their dues and led the way for this new generation of wrestler to be able to do what they do, which I thought was really incredible. NXT, I gotta say, they've been putting on some amazing network specials, a lot better than the standard WWE product. I don't know if that's by design or, these kids are just hungry. But either way, let me know what your thoughts were. Did you enjoy it? Did you think things could have been done differently? Whatever the case may be, I'd love to hear all your opinions, guys. Like I said, I personally enjoyed it. I really did. And whatever your opinion is, I will respect it as well. Please feel free to like, share, comment this video. Share it with all your friends. Spread the word. Help me grow this channel. I love providing you guys with content, even at this ungodly hour of the night. So with that said and done, I am Neil Starling. And if you guys weren't sure before,
Now you are.